Skillup is talking about his hands-on experience about the Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Very proud to announce that we're going to be doing even more work this year with this video sponsor, Lost and Colt. You may remember them from that incredible Outer Wilds commemorative book they put together featuring over 250 pages of essays, interviews, and perspectives on one of the greatest games ever made. Lost and Colt do these sorts.
I still have to, I'm yet to complete it. I spent like 4 hours in the game and I played it, you know, like I was supposed to go to one place and then I keep getting killed. You have to restart, so I was really sad about it. But I heard you can finish it in like 30 minutes or something, but yeah, very cool. Anyways, continue.
Lots of books and collections regularly, and they've got some incredible stuff lined up for 2025, including a Legacy of Kain project, which I may or may not be a little bit involved in. To learn more, click the link below or stick around to the end of the video. Okay, so Assassin's Creed Shadows. So for a bit of context, I want to say a few things about my relationship to AC games and to Ubisoft games more broadly. First of all, contrary to popular belief, I actually like Ubisoft games, generally speaking. We all like to dunk on their fairly formulaic approach to game making, but sometimes you're just in the mood for that sort of open world, map marker driven, tick the things off the list kind of time, and I'm not immune to the allure of that sort of experience, particularly when it comes to Far Cry. I love that shit. Last year was a rough year for Ubisoft, but I personally really liked both Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
I heard Prince of Persia was pretty good, but people still didn't buy it. And then I think they have Sands of Time remake going on now. Hopefully it's gonna come out. Maybe Ubisoft's gonna cancel it. Who knows? But I guess it all depends on the Assassin's Creed Shadows performance, which is not looking that good, at least from the trailers and the gameplay options and what people are talking about it. But I think we have like a month left to see. So let's take a look at what they're gonna bring. What do you guys think?
And the Rogue Prince of Persia. I didn't hate Skull and Bones as much as a lot of other people did, and I actually enjoyed Star Wars Outlaws despite its many obvious shortcomings. Hell, I even had a kind word for X-Defiant, so I guess I like that game more than Ubisoft's management did, since they shut that shit down just a few months after it launched. So those are my Ubisoft...
With that, all his opinions cancelled. It doesn't count. I'm just kidding. But as for me, I played Assassin's Creed 1, Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, Revelations, Assassin's Creed 3, 4... I think I played a little bit of Unity. When it came out, it was riddled with bugs, like visual bugs and performance issues. My computer was not strong enough to get it. So I ended up, I think, completing it like 2-3 years later. It was okay. Pretty cool parkour. That's about it. And then I've never actually played with friends because I had no friends that wanted to play this game. And playing online, fighting with someone would not be as fun. You know? So that's that. And then what else did I play? I did do Odyssey, most of it, because I really enjoy Greek mythology, and I believe I did do a little bit of Valhalla, maybe like 10-20 hours. That's about it. And then it was just like too much time wasted. Like you have to go and do these resources, or like get these resources to upgrade your base, or you gotta do some side quests, and it was kind of a pain. So, anyways, let's go.
Soft takes. What about my Assassin's Creed takes? Well, that's a little more complicated. Assassin's Creed Black Flag is one of my favorite games ever, but the more modern AC games have been really hit and miss for me. I didn't love Origins. I liked Odyssey, despite the fact that there was a solid 25 hours of that just felt like grindy bullshit designed to sell XP boosters. I quite enjoyed the first 20 or so hours of AC Valhalla until I eventually came to loathe it because the game just would not fucking end. And AC Mirage, I found myself quite disappointed by it. It set up a really nice, focused foundation centered on stealth, but it never evolved after that. It just made the forts bigger, plus the writing was abysmal.
The worst written AC game, I think.
But here's the thing, the modern AC trilogy games have been phenomenally successful for Ubisoft. Generally speaking, people love them. They are...
I guess like more like regular general audience would like it. The people that, at least from what I've seen, a lot of people that's seen the Assassin's Creed 1 through like 3 or 4 and like that formula are kind of mad because the formula is no longer there. So it's not really about the assassins anymore, or you don't get to use your stealth that much. It becomes like an RPG almost. So I guess in that case they traded the nicheness of it for general audience approval. So, but let's see.
Critical and commercial hits, Ubisoft have a winning formula, so they are naturally going to be more inclined towards trying to please fans who already love the modern AC games, rather than trying to reinvent the formula too drastically to win over people like myself who are less enamored of the series.
Yeah.
I provide all this context so you know where I'm coming from when I talk about an AC game, and all of that is a big preamble to the substance of my impressions, which is me talking about why I did not enjoy the 5 hours I spent playing Assassin's Creed Shadows. And that is actually quite a unique experience for me, given that...
Oh, yeah. One last thing, there's also one more video about, I believe, from a Japanese creator that was talking about how he was criticizing the game, but from the point of view of Japanese people, how it looks, etc., how it feels. And I believe his video got falsely flagged and taken down for like a very long time until he made a video about it, and he got signal boosted, and then thankfully the video got returned, and people are now talking about it more. But yeah.
Even the AC games I didn't like, I still kind of enjoyed them in their opening chapters because the world was new and you were meeting new characters and you were getting to grips with the newer evolved game systems. My issues with modern AC games would always begin to emerge after that honeymoon period wore off.
Like
For
about
me
10 hours, yeah.
personally, there wasn't really any honeymoon period here, as it kind of just felt like I was meeting a number of core design and narrative issues very quickly. I'm going to cover a fair amount of ground in this video, so I want to make clear my central thesis, and that is that the decision to split out the core modern AC fantasy into 2 separate characters, each with their own unique playstyles, that sounds like a really good idea on paper, and maybe it is, but so far, for me, the execution is not working. Modern AC gameplay has always been a balance of stealth, parkour, and full frontal combat, with much more focus on that full frontal combat part of the equation. Personally, I think that each of these core systems are pretty weak on their own. Like, no one's out here saying that AC combat is S tier, and no one's saying that the stealth sandbox is as sophisticated as Metal Gear or Hitman, but because you can move between these gameplay styles so freely, it all sort of hung together.
It gives you good
AC
choices.
Shadows unique compared to the other modern AC trilogy games is that instead of one main character having access to the full combat, stealth, and parkour sandbox, they've essentially split these fantasies across 2 separate characters. Yasuke embodies the samurai fantasy, and he's all about...
Yeah. How do you swap between them? Do you use like freely, kind of in like a GTA, or like for a given mission you can select between the 2, or how would that work? And also the upgrades, would it be, I assume there would be separate ones, but how about the experience? So if you level up your, let's say you play as the girl, Shinobi, then would you not get any skill points on Yasuke, or he would get the same ones? Would like experience be shared and stuff? So kind of interesting how they implement it.
Full
Even like regardless about the game's content itself.
assault and literally barging through doors. Naoe embodies the shinobi fantasy, which is actually largely analogous to the overall Assassin's Creed fantasy. She's focused on stealth, misdirection, leaping across rooftops to scout a location, finding hidden entrances to buildings, etc. But she can also throw down, and she's just as lethal up close as she is from a distance with a shuriken. For this reason, AC Shadows is a game comprised of 3 parts: combat, stealth, and parkour, and only Naoe has access to all 3 of those parts. As a result, when you're playing as her, it feels like the game works because all of the game's systems are being leveraged and the assassin's fantasy is center stage. It works. But when you're playing as Yasuke, you really only have access to 1/3 of the game's systems, combat. And I don't think it works. Yasuke's stealth capabilities are much more limited and his parkour capabilities are way more limited. Like, this guy is clearly meant to stay on the ground, for sure. As a result, all Yasuke really has to rely on is his combat, and unfortunately it's not good combat. Again, I don't think modern AC combat has ever...
My apologies, my mic died. I was gonna say that for Yasuke, it doesn't look like he's doing much more damage than the Shinobi girl. So I'm not quite sure what is the point of like reason of playing him. I guess it's somewhere fantasy, but at the same time, like I would understand if he does like 50 or like 100% more damage, maybe then it would be understandable. Like a melee damage, and you would just want to brute force it. But you know, I feel like Assassin's Creed should be a little more about assassins. But that's just
particularly good, but you also had other tools to rely on, so you weren't fighting all of the time. But as Yasuke, you're fighting all of the time, and it's the same combat from previous AC games, which is very sloppy and animation paired, resulting in limbs teleporting everywhere, and the whole thing feels very arcadey. The bigger problem with it is that Yosuke is incredibly fast.
Yosuke?
The speed of his strikes, how short his animation recovery times are, how quickly he can dodge and how much distance he covers during those dodges, the speed of his various special moves and how he sort of streaks like a bolt of lightning across the battlefield. He's meant to be this massive, lumbering force of nature, but none of that power is communicated through his combat because he seems just as spry, quick, and agile as Naoe is. Plus, Yasuke is like borderline invincible. I don't think I died once while playing with him for 3.5 hours. He deals so much damage, he is so fast and so resilient that it's legitimately difficult to die. Just to give you an example of how much of a unit this man is, he can obviously burst through doors when you sprint. It's how Yasuke progresses through levels when Naoe has to find another way around. But Yasuke isn't just limited to charging through wooden doors, he can also charge through concrete balustrades.
Interesting. Why? Lore accurate Assassin's Creed or whatever they're saying, based on historic context and stuff.
While looking at this happening, I was like, Ubisoft, I think you may have overtuned this guy just a little bit.
Yeah.
That over-reliance on subpar, poorly tuned combat is definitely a problem.
You're gonna go
There's
through?
also the fact that Yosuke isn't built to make good use of the game's other core systems, stealth and parkour. In the case of stealth, he can sneak, but he's so big there are smaller spaces he can't sneak through. More importantly, he can assassinate people, but only a brutal assassination, which is very loud.
But the NPC didn't see him though.
Obviously, that sort of assassination is going to attract a lot of attention, so Yasuke's assassinations are typically used at the start of an engagement to dispatch one foe before a bigger fight breaks out, rather than a tool allowing you to clear an entire section of enemies without being detected. Parkour is the really big dividing line between Yasuke and
I thought
Naoe.
he would make the
Yasuke
jump.
can do some very limited parkour, but he's much slower while doing it, and you can see him really struggling to mantle up ledges or whatever.
I mean,
and yes,
makes
that
sense.
feels very authentic and believable, but I never really
He has a
wanted an
huge
Assassin's
armor, no?
Creed character who can't parkour well, and now that I've got one, I definitely don't like it. There are also harsher limitations on Yasuke's parkour that are frankly kind of annoying. So when you're not in the middle of a main mission, you can actually freely switch between Naoe and Yasuke by opening the menu and holding down a button. At that point, you enter a loading screen, the world repopulates around you, and you're standing in roughly the same spot as you were before, but as the other character. When I sat down for my playthrough, I really wanted to play as Yasuke as much as possible, because to be honest, I'm actually really interested in his storyline. So I chose Yasuke at the start of my playthrough, and in typical AC fashion, I opened up my map so I could see the nearest synchronization tower. That unlocked loads of map markers for me, helped me get my bearings, etc. I see the tower, I mark it, I head over to it.
Oh, you can go there?
Climbing it, and no sooner do I do that than Yasuke says this.
Lol.
Naoe could reach the top of that pagoda if she wanted to challenge.
This was the game's way of telling me that Yasuke actually can't climb this tower.
What's the point
Only
then?
Naoe can.
Really?
She has a grappling hook that lets her rappel straight up, whereas Yasuke can't do that. And so in order to sink this tower, I had to open up the menu, sit through the loading screen, load in as Naoe, climb the tower, and then switch back to Yasuke. Again, I never asked for an Assassin's Creed main character who couldn't climb a tower, and I don't think forcing me to change characters to get the job done
That is crazy. I've not thought of that, but
so
yeah.
that's an example of how a lot of AC Shadows works, in that the level design is built to accommodate two separate characters with two distinct playstyles. And that example is one where it's kind of silly, but there are other examples where it's actually kind of interesting. The previous slice we played culminated in a final mission that involved ascending a tower to assassinate someone, and these missions are very structured in that they have cutscenes, and at the end of each of these cutscenes, you choose who you want to continue the mission as. That decision will greatly impact how the rest of the mission plays out. If you're playing as Yasuke, you can literally just break down a door and start ascending the tower level by level, dispatching every goon as you do. If you're playing as Naoe, you can't break through that same door, so you need to find another way in. That forces you to climb the tower from the outside. This meant I skipped a huge amount of fighting on the way up, and I was able to assassinate a few people when I finally got in.
Okay.
I also noticed that the level design itself was very different based on who I was playing as. I got to this section here as Yasuke and it was all blocked off, but as Naoe, these boxes were removed, revealing a hidden passage that let me get in under the floorboard so I could get past a locked door. So it is really interesting that there are two ways to experience the same mission, leaning into two totally separate fantasies. One of them kicking down the door and 1v1ing everyone in sight, and the other was about exploration, stealth, and assassination, with a little bit of combat thrown in as well. But here's the kicker. It's boring to kick down the door and 1v1 everyone in this game. I played this final mission at the end of my 5-hour session. I played it first as Yasuke and then as Naoe, and it was the mission that really crystallized how I felt about this game, because I was honestly really bored playing as Yasuke throughout most of my hands-on session. And when I was playing as Naoe, I was like, you know what? I'm having some fun here. It wasn't incredible Game of the Year level fun, but it was enough for me to be like, yeah, this is working. But I just don't think it works as Yasuke. It just doesn't. And when I do eventually play this for review, I'll probably be playing as little Yasuke as possible, because you can choose to main one character or another throughout most or potentially all of your playthrough. And you might say, well, what are you complaining about then? Just play the character you prefer, right? Well, yeah, but I would have liked to have played as an assassin samurai. That would have been pretty cool. And Yasuke's limited stealth and parkour combined with his overpowered combat capabilities make him very unfun to play, I think.
I mean, technically, I think it would probably work. Kind of like, you know, the unconceptual level, 2 different playstyles. You just do a samurai way, just fighting things, or stealthy way, but I guess now I can do all 3, as he mentioned. So, like exploration, stealth, and fighting. So there's little point to use Yasuke. But, yeah, I guess we'll see how it's going to turn out.
To say about the game's right.
I kind of forgot about what is the date of release for this game. I believe it was like February 14th. Not sure if it was like moved further down as well. But I guess I'll Google it right after this.
But unfortunately, I don't. Again,
So
I spent
like
5 hours with both Yasuke and Naoe, and they
if it's February 14th, it's gonna be like in 2 weeks or so. Wait, okay, let me Google. March 20th. Okay, got it. So still 1.5 months left. Okay. They moved it one more time.
So lifeless and dull, almost robotic. They're united by some form of grief and fueled by a commitment to honor. If you're going to have 2 separate protagonists, then I feel like that would have been an opportunity to have 2 very different personality types that kind of play off each other. While there may be some differences that emerge over the course of a broader playthrough, I saw none of those differences here, and both of them felt rather interchangeable with one another in their dialogue, their worldview, and the sort of reception they got from people talking to them. Narratively, this section of the game was a little tough to follow. It was about unmasking a mysterious figure, but similar to AC Mirage, that just involved clicking on pieces of paper that were laying around in different places, and then somehow you piece together who the bad guy is, and then it's off to go kill them. While doing all this, I never met a single interesting character who seemed to have any personality. Everyone I met felt as stilted and as lifeless as the main characters I was controlling. Obviously, we can't judge a game's writing and narrative based on just 5 hours with it.
This guy kind of looks like more like a Chinese style, even on clothing, but I could be wrong. But like,
I will say that nothing in that 5 hours
versus
left a great impression.
I don't know, man.
I unfortunately have similar things to say about the world design and exploration. Ubisoft are on record as saying that this will be a less map marker driven game than in the past, but that wasn't my experience playing it for 5 hours. It was still about sinking those towers, selecting those map markers, and then heading toward them. The one spin on this was kind of a bummer, actually. At one point, the game introduces me to something called the Scout system, which on paper sounds really cool. The way it's explained is that Yasuke and Naoe are cultivating a network of spies, and that by feeding them the necessary supply resources, you can dispatch these spies/scouts to distant lands to scout ahead for you. And okay, that sounds pretty cool, right? Like I'm imagining these scouts are NPCs that I meet and recruit. They have personalities, maybe a bit of banter. Maybe they run up to me while I'm out exploring.
Oh, this is the Erikshi. You can't see it right now, but I believe this is the Erikshi skill on the bottom right that they were talking about, which is a girl. Like sumo, even though like sumo wrestler, she's not. But in Japan, women are actually forbidden from being sumo wrestlers. Kind of interesting. But yeah, so that was the one that pops up here. I wonder if he is actually going to use the power to show it. But a lot of people were disappointed by that.
All of those were very incorrect assumptions. What the Scout system actually is a map pinging system. At various points, you get clues about where to go next, just as they've done in previous AC games, actually. So they'll say the target is in the southeast part of this district, in a temple. And all you do is move a cursor on the map over the spot where you think
and
it
just
might be.
click.
Push the Scout button, and if you guess correctly, then the map marker will appear. And that's it. That's the scouting system. It's an entirely menu-driven affair that actually discourages you from exploring and makes you even more reliant on map markers than if this system didn't exist at all. I also really struggled with the responsiveness of the world. Pretty quickly I realized that Yasuke was borderline invincible, so I was like, okay, let's just start killing people and see what happens. And so here I am just indiscriminately murdering people in the streets, and no one is doing anything about it. There's no royal guard dispatched to bring me to heal, no wanted system. I just kill people without any consequence.
Okay.
There's also no moral consequences. Here, I just brutally murder an innocent, unarmed serving woman, and there's nothing telling me, like, hey man, you probably shouldn't do that. It feels incredibly out of...
Yeah, because in previous Assassin's Creed, if you kill I guess civilians, it will actually say, okay, if you kill a couple more, you're going to be desynchronized, because the actual person that you are playing as, I'm not going to go over like the entire story of Assassin's Creed, but basically the historical person that you're playing as actually did not do that. So you will be desynchronized, you have to restart. So that kind of prevented you from doing that. But I guess yes, like,
keeping with
good.
the nature
Let's
of
do it.
Yasuke's character and the broader sense of social justice that is the creed of the assassins. So look, I obviously was pretty scathing in this preview, so I want to say a few things to wrap it up and round it out. Firstly, do recall that I'm not the biggest fan of modern AC games. Some of them I thought were okay to good, some of them I straight up didn't like.
I mean, like Assassin's Creed in Japan, so many people asked for it. It's such an easy dub, no? But with all the controversies and everything, with the mistranslations, I think some of the monuments and stuff, the temples, they cannot actually use legally, because it's a shrine, like it's forbidden for people to use in games or any other media. But they still use it or something. It's kind of crazy, but I don't know how they're, like, Ubisoft manages to take an L on this.
As such, I'm probably not the target audience for AC Shadows, because this is a game that is clearly targeting the people that enjoy modern AC games, and rightly so. So, as always, I do encourage you to...
And I think on his back he has a gun,
love
right? Yeah, let's go flintlock.
AC games more than I do. Their perspective is going to be really valuable, more valuable than mine, I'd say.
So he does have
Secondly,
ranged
I
options.
spent most of my playthrough playing as Yasuke, and I really believe that you are going to have a vastly different and vastly better experience playing this game as Nawe. Because like I said earlier, she's able to make full use of the AC sandbox, combat, stealth, and parkour, whereas Yasuke is basically just combat. I think the amount of time I spent with Yasuke really skewed my overall impressions, but at the same time, Yasuke is one of the main characters. He's, you know, got a storyline that I personally am really interested to see, and he's the only way to play the samurai combat style that I'm really into. I don't believe that there should be a bad or lesser choice when it comes to a main character.
I want to compare this to Ghost of Tsushima, because in Ghost of Tsushima you can be both, right? I believe you can use both the dishonorable tactics, which is the assassin ones, and then you can also just do samurai, even call people on 1v1s and stuff, which is really cool. And they mix it in one character, and that was great. So you can do exploration, you can do everything in one single go. But unfortunately, in this one they split it, and you can't do one or the other. It's kind of interesting. I guess we'll see when it comes out.
Kind of feels like that at this point, and I think that giving him so few stealth or parkour options was a mistake, because you could have had two equally capable assassins who just so happen to have very different core fighting styles. Ubisoft have gone for something more novel and more ambitious and more interesting here, absolutely, and full credit to them for doing that. But so far, I don't think it's working.
The guy was
and finally,
with the
to conclude, I really want to stress
Uchiha was
so far part of that sentence.
Was calling down the arrows. That's pretty cool.
This was just 5 hours.
Uchiha is that war fan,
and only a specific
not the
section of the
Sasuke
game.
one.
It is of course entirely possible that the final product is way better because the writing starts to pop off, or maybe the mission design makes great use of Yasuke's more limited kit, or maybe the open world is full of surprises. I don't know, so please don't look at this or any preview as a definitive judgment on the game. That comes with the full review. These are my own personal impressions, having played just 5 hours of what I expect will be a 50 to 60 to 70 plus hour game. So I really do leave lots of room for the possibility that I end up enjoying this. But yeah, so far, not feeling great about this one. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Thank you for watching, and be sure to check back in March for the full review. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Now, what do you guys think about it? Are you going to check the game out, wait for reviews, or have you already pre-ordered it, even though the game is digital? But yeah, that was the video from Skill Up. Let me know what you think. See you guys later. All right, bye.